Okay, so my name is Michael Anderson. I'm the coordinator with St Laurence outreach programs and community group programs, and we're here today at Moorabool Street, Cardinia Senior Cit Centre, and the guys are going to interview me and ask me a few questions.
When did this specific men's group start?
Well, the men's group's been going for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
So it sort of started off as a bit of a drop-in centre and like a meal for people who are homeless.
Yep.
It's developed from there now to be a activity group, planned activity group, social support group.
What is the age demographic you cater for, and what activities are offered?
Cool.
Yeah.
So we started about 18. So you've got to be over 18 to start, but there's no age limit. So you can be, we've had people here in their 90s.
Yeah.
But generally the guys are sort of mid 30s to 50s.
Yeah.
Most in that area. A few older, a few younger.
Yeah.
Activities we offer, for starters we've got table tennis, we've got pool, there's like the chance to play video games, we've got a garden out the back, we have, the guys are playing a bocce tournament out at the moment, we've got guys like to play cards, as you were playing with them this morning, Tristan, gin rummy, any sort of game like that. Some of the guys like to sit around and have a chat.
Yeah.
Look, one of the big factors is the meal, like a social meal. So, we have a cooked meal at 1 o'clock every Tuesday and Friday. On top of those activities, if people come in and they've got a particular interest, and we can support them here, we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So, we're open to ideas just as much as giving ideas to people.
Yeah. Oh, cool. What are some of the aspects of your job that you like, and why?
Wow, well look, there's many aspects of my job that I enjoy. One of the main aspects, I guess, is the contact with people that are included in something, and that's a big part of our program here, like everybody's included, everybody's is made to feel welcome, and we take people on face value, and we look at what people can do as opposed to what they can't do. So but that's a huge enjoyment, seeing people come in and make connections, make friends, and go and grow personally, and it's good to see smiles on people's faces. So that's probably the best aspect, like seeing the enjoyment that these groups bring.
What are the overall goals of men's group, and what do you hope it achieves?
Cool, good question, mate. Well, I guess the overall goals are, as I just mentioned earlier, they're to build friendships, to build a sense of community, but they're there to give people an opportunity to reconnect with the community in general. So we're sort of a group that people can come and feel part of, but we can also introduce them to other aspects of community groups like men's sheds and whatever, table tennis competitions, pool competitions, gym. We give them a bit of a link to those groups. So people come here, they might have been socially isolated, they might have just moved to the area, or they might have just had an accident or some sort of illness happened to them, they've been disconnected. We give them these groups give people a chance to come and find themselves again, and then go on to, hopefully that's the goal, to go on to be part of it, back into the mainstream community.
Yeah. How did men's group start?
Well, how did it start?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. The history of it that I'm aware of, it started as basically like a drop-in centre for people who were experiencing homelessness, and it provided a meal. So it was open for 2 or 3 hours, three days a week, and it basically provided a meal, which was mainly like bread and some soup sometimes. So it was pretty basic, but it grew from there, and the people who worked in my role and managers that preceded me have sort of developed it and lobbied for funding, and so now it's sort of grown to what it is today.
Yeah, I know. And whose idea was it to start the men's group?
Well, the men's group, it's probably a government initiative, and it's through Home and Community Care, so it's a state government initiative. And the idea is studies were shown that people who became socially isolated, the ongoing health problems, or those mounting health problems. So it was an initiative to try and reconnect people and give them a sense of somewhere to go and feel part of it and be social. So that's the sort of the goals of it once again, and that's what the aims of when it was started, was to try and keep people connected to the community.
Oh yeah. And how many people use men's group, and how much does it cost?
The men's group, we've probably got about 50 or 60 guys that access it, not all the time. But you know, on any given day we'll have 35 to 40 people here. We do, like, clients can give or the guys can give a gold coin donation.
Yep.
It doesn't generally cost anything though, other than, you know, particular funding levels, which, you know, that's another story altogether. But personal cost to the people who are coming here, it can be nothing, or it can be as much as they want to donate.
How do you control troublemakers?
Well, that's a very good question, because sometimes there is trouble,
Yes.
or problems or issues. You know, you get a lot of guys together and everybody doesn't get on all the time.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like the word troublemakers is probably a word I don't use.
Yeah.
You know, so what I say to the guys that come here, if there's ever arguments or anything, I always try, well, me personally, I try and look at from the point of view of the person who's having the issues. So if they come in angry, alright, and they're starting to be angry towards other people, I always try to say, well, you know, what's happened, why are you angry, instead of sort of blaming them or trying to be, you know, punitive about it and, you know, authoritarian, actually to talk to the guys. And you know, over the years we've developed that sort of code where if people are angry, you know, they can approach the staff, or you know, or if they're having troubles with a client, they can come and see the staff. And then we get down and we get people to sit together. So we have like a conflict resolution in many ways. You know, we just give people the opportunity to have their say, and we validate what they say. And look, over my years here, that seems to work quite well. There's been a couple of times where we've had to ask guys to leave because they were either under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and we can't do anything there. And you know, even then, we still have what's called a duty of care. So you know, it's hard to sort of kick people out when in that state. So we've always tried to support them, but there does come a time when we have to consider safety. So that's the extreme. That's how we do it. We would, you know, if it got to that point, we would ask them to leave. But generally, I find people, you know, they just want to talk about it, and often they're angry. They're not really angry at a person. It's something in their life that's causing them stress, and it's, you know, and they take it out on somebody else. Once you sit down and talk to people about that, well, you know, it's easy to work through things.
Yeah. Do you go anywhere with Ben's group?
We do indeed.
Yes.
We do indeed, Tristan. We have a regular monthly trip.
Yep.
So the last Friday of every month.
Yep.
And once again, that's chosen by the guys who come here. You know, they'll sit down and have a talk about it. We'll put a few suggestions up on the board. So, you know, like, you know, most of the time the guys like barbecues or going out for a meal at a hotel, museums, you know, out in the bush for walks or whatever. So, yeah, once again, it's very much what the guys want to do.
What times is it available?
Right, no, that's good. That's a good point, isn't it? We're open 9 till 3, Tuesday and Friday, except public holidays. So we're open pretty much all year round, except for if it falls on a public holiday. We start at 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock's generally when we finish.
Oh, very good. How many people does men's group see over a year?
Well, I'd have to get somebody in maths to figure that one out, mate. Look, what I'm saying, well, let's work it out. You're a smart guy. Let's go with this. So we've got about, say, 30. So if we average it out to 30 guys, 60 guys a week, times 52 weeks. So you know, there's sort of 3,000. You know. People coming through. They're not 3,000 different people, obviously. But you know, when you put it in that way, that's a lot of meals and a lot of activity, a lot of conversation, a lot of laughter, sometimes a bit of tension.
Yeah. And how does this men's group differ from other men's groups?
Well, look, I think for me personally, how does it differ? It's because it's not specific to any group. It's like open for everyone. So it doesn't matter. You might have a disability. You might have alcohol or drug problems. You might have mental health issues. You might be just, you know, frail aged and living and isolated. So we bring. I think the difference is that we bring people from all different diverse areas of life together, and that's what makes it what it is. It's such a eclectic sort of group. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Cool.
Michael, my name is Peter Jurisic. I founded this media group, and I founded it for a reason of I want to inform people about good services like you provide. What are the barriers that men's group experiences to become better?
Wow, that's a good question off the top of my head to answer. I think one of the biggest barriers I find for people to access it is often transport. is often getting here, you know, in the first place. Once people can get here, you know, they sort of have a tendency to engage and stay. But there's a lot of people out there that haven't got the capacity for transport, and you know, so that's one barrier, even though we're in a central area. So barriers, so yeah, like I said, it's a bit of transportation sometimes. Another barrier is, I guess, we're not really out there sort of advertising. How do you get out, how do you sort of attract that, you know, how do you get to people who would benefit from it, you know, that is, you know, it's not an easy thing to get round, you know, to make yourself known, and look, that's where I think you guys are great coming in here and interviewing it, because that's one way to get it out there, you know.
Being on the coalface, you get to see it every day. What is the biggest issue for our society that isolates people, and that you see as the biggest impact?
Well, I think with the breakdown of community in general, you know, I think everybody, you know, we all hear about it and people say, oh, I'm so busy and life's so rushed, and you know, I think a lot of times people get caught up in that, and we don't sort of connect as much as we do, you know, so yeah. That is, apart from that, look, there's lots of social, you know, issues that are out there that are much bigger than what our little group's facing, you know, but yeah.
How many years have you been doing this?
So I've been here for nearly 9 years now.
9 years. St Laurence is fantastic as an organisation to be supporting this. We working in the industry believe it's a great service. I have referred people here. The atmosphere is fantastic. What if you could change one law? If you could have an influence in one law, what would it be?
Relation to the program, or relation to anything?
Your choice.
Well, apart from fairer corporate tax rates, making them pay their way, look, I'd just like to see these sort of programs continue. I think for this program in particular, if we could have one thing, if we could have a purpose-built centre that actually was, you know, ours to stay in and do what we could offer so much more, you know, we could offer skills, you know, like these guys could come in, we could have, you know, video conferencing set up, or we could have like little courses to teach people how to use, you know, video recording, IT stuff, we could, you know, have woodworking, all of those things are out there in the community, but, you know, I'd like to see a central, you know, point for us as an organisation that we could call our own, and that would be massive towards making, you know, bigger steps to giving guys more skills, to teaching them, you know, more about their self-worth, and giving them independence to be able to then go out there and, you know, rejoin the community.
Homelessness in the Geelong region is a subject not many people want to talk about. What do you, as a men's group, as an organisation, what do you do to assist people who are homeless?
Yeah, good point. Well, I mean, it's a big part of the program is, you know, helping supporting people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. So part of the program is we can, you know, the guys come in here. We have within the outreach department, we have housing support for the aged and community reconnections programs. So, you know, when the guys come in here, a lot of times, you know, we are asking them questions about their lives and that, but that's so if the guys that are at risk, they can be identified and then we can refer them on. Look, lots of people come in here that are on the streets. The guys do a great job. There's a lot of people who are either homeless or at risk of it, and there's not many homes out there or houses out there, but, you know, short-term housing is an option that we can provide here. So, but, you know, we can, the guys can get people registered with DHS for, you know, for Office of Housing, and get them on the list there, and support them with private rental applications. Often, you know, guys come in here and they've got no, you know, residence, no place of address, so they need sort of support in that area. So, yeah, it's a big part of the program is like, you know, that housing support, yeah, across the board.
If you could say one thing to, say, the state government, what would it be regarding men's group?
Well, look,
Would it be something like come see it, come visit us, see the benefits?
fantastic, absolutely.
See the benefits that we're doing.
Yeah.
I may sound like I'm advocating for you, but because I've seen what Men's Group can achieve and the benefits of it, that's why I ask. So, is there anything that you
Absolutely.
would say?
Look, I would like to see more, more in social investment. And I'm not just talking about throwing money at people. I'm talking about, putting money into programs that actually empowers people. So, I think, in some ways we are moving towards that. It's sort of, sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back. But there's a lot of organisations, and the state government has had that model of, the active service model or the re-enablement model, which is all about, giving the people back their independence, giving them back. So, if anything, I'd just like to see them put more into that, more into social investment, on big scale, like, say with housing, a lot of units with a central hub where you've got, something like this, a social support, and you've got medical support and financial support and mental health, all of those things that would, benefit in the long run.
Even though like a micro home community.
Absolutely.
We hear a lot about people not wanting to work. Is it not wanting to work or not having the opportunities out there anymore?
For sure. I think that people not wanting to work is such a small percentage, like it's minuscule. People who come in here that I've come across, they're always looking for work. But, it's a tough world out there, and some of these guys are, they've got barriers to accessing it straight away. Some of them might, have a mild intellectual disability, or they come from a background where they haven't had the schooling or the education that they need. They've dropped out early for circumstances. They're really up against it, but the desire to work's there. Just the opportunities to do so aren't there,
So for people who aren't sure if you can help, would you say call up, come and visit, and if I can help, we will. If not, we'll refer you to someone? Absolutely,
absolutely. Look, like the reason for this is a social support group, and but we have got the capacity to refer, or we might be able to sort of open up a few doorways, make it easier for people, and like people like yourself doing your sort of work, it helps that immensely too, and connect, we're sort of building networks, and we can introduce the guys into networks and make it easier for them.
One success story from Men's Group that you'd be happy to share?
There's quite a few. I'd be happy to share. I just have to think. Well, look, yeah, okay. So we had a young guy. Well, like I say, I've been here 9 years. So I say young guy. He was probably in his early 30s when he started coming. Had a few issues with his mental health because of drug use, and look, he'd come here and he'd be like, he would have been at the end of his tether, and he's like gone to rehab. He's cleaned himself up. He comes back. He used this place as a base for him, to disengage from that side of his life. He struggled for probably about 5 or 6 years with this, So off and on he'd come, he'd be clean. He'd be feeling great, something would happen, he'd relapse, you wouldn't see him for a few months, then he'd come back and he'd start all over again. But last couple of years, and he still drops in to see us. So about 18 months ago, he cleaned himself up, he'd been clean for 6 months, and he got a job, and he still drops in and says good day, and what he said was the value of this for him was having a safe place to come to, and that's all he wanted, just a social support, somebody to say, you're doing all right, keep pushing it, get quite emotional talking about it actually.
It's very good. Is there anything that's ever happened where it's frustrated you to such a point where you said it has to change, as that people's perception has to change, or something that in your job where you've almost walked off?
Look, there's been a lot of times where I've been very frustrated and like angry, but look, the nature of it is it's ongoing, so it's never going to, when it's nothing that would make me want to walk away from this. Sometimes frustration on an admin level, perhaps,
we all feel
but
that.
as far as the guys go, like you get so much, they get so much out of it, it feeds, like it just generates that positivity. Like you see some of the guys out there struggling and getting on with their life and being, and you know, coming in and smiling, and you know, they've almost got nothing, and you see them, they're quite happy and content, you know, and in many ways, you know, that sort of attitude, that positive attitude makes that just sort of dissolves any negativity. And you know, look, I have to realise the scope of my role and what influence I can have, so I sort of put my energies into things that I know I can make a difference with, rather than sort of banging your head up against, say, a wall.
Michael Anderson, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.